So that's it at full height. So it's at working level, perfect for working level, so I can start to clean it, take the parts off. I mean, the first thing I've got to do is put the alternator back in here, but I need to clean the alternator up. It's a bit worrying that there's cloth stuffed in. This is where the thermostat is for the oil. Got to have a look at what that's about. Lots of cleaning up to do. There's no alternator belt on, of course, because the alternator isn't there, but got to put that on. And then I've got to check out all this end before I put the clutch back and see which seals there are to replace all the way through. So quite a lot of work that's involved now, but it's enjoyable that I can do it without having to bend down and just take my time in it. It's so firm now. I can't even rock the thing because it's bolted in 4 places, as you see there. It's bolted. It is absolutely solid. Nothing will move. And the platform is bolted to these rectangular metal struts that I bought and cut and clamped to the blue lift itself. This is the alternator. You can't pour cleaning fluid onto this, of course, but I'll do my best just to make it a little bit cleaner. I'm so obsessed with, I hate putting back dirty pieces of equipment. I mean, a garage can't do that, they haven't got the time, but I can. I'll spend more time cleaning than I will actually assembling. Starting with the cover, so that I can put the alternator back first. There's 3 bolts. All rusty as usual. That's an interesting piece of packing. That's not on our present bike. Not seen that before. A little bit of cleaning involved on here. Just let some muck off to its job. So the Dremel comes out. The alternator has been cleaned up as best I can. Copper grease the bolts. And now take them to an 18 torque, so let me just nip them up all around. There we are. I mentioned before these bolts that hold the front engine cover on are they always rust terribly. They rust within such a short period of time. Why BMW don't put stainless steel bolts here, I don't know, but I changed all the ones on the previous engine before with Motorrad stainless steel kit. So wherever I can, I'm going to take them off and put them on here. So I need to take out each of these and put in the stainless steel ones. It makes it look so much better straight away. This is the first stainless steel bolt in, copper greased, and these go to 8 Newton meters. So I'm going to take one out at a time. There we are, and just replace it. So then the next. So this is the final one. 16 in total, which is what you don't get in the kit. You don't get, I think it's 10 you get. Fortunately, I've got a whole packet of exactly the same stainless steel bolts because I keep almost everything in stock because I'm using them all the time. So 16 brand new stainless steel bolts just to copper grease, put the last one in, and then 8 Newton meters, which is very little, but it just means they're all done to the same. There it is. So that now is all stainless steel bolts all the way around, 16 in total. It just makes it look so much cleaner, and they won't rust again. I'll do the same with the bolts here, which also rust. The cylinder head covers I will use from the existing bike because this has been dropped at some time. Let me just put them there. Take these off first. As you've guessed by now, I'm changing every single rusty or even non-rusty bolt for stainless steel. It's so easy to do it at this stage, and talking them all up, but it just makes such a difference to the bike itself to be able to put, and these are just ones I have in stock. I buy them at Permafast around the corner. They're so reasonably priced. You can get a bag of 20 or 30 6mm stainless steel of all different, sizes, and it just improves the bike so much. Even if nobody sees them, I know, especially on a GS, where you do see the bolts. On the RT, you hardly see any, but on the GS, it's a real work of art to be able to change them in this way. You notice this one is really rusty, and that's a big one, so I'll have to measure it. At Permafast, you can literally go up and ask for one bolt, and they'll just go and get it. But whenever I need, say, 5 bolts, I tend to get 20. The difference in price is so little, and then I've just built up a stock over the years I use anyway. So I do all those between 10 and 11, usually 10 stainless steel bolts with a little bit of copper grease on each one. So you see, I get obsessed because now I've got 3 perfectly good galvanized bolts there, but I want them to be stainless. So I'll just take one of them out and see whether it's the same size. Most of them are the same size. Doesn't mean they all are. Ah, that's a much shorter one. Don't know whether I've got that in stock. Let me have a look. Yeah, so I've got some of those in my little drawer. That's a tricky one to get in. I don't want to damage the cable. There we are, that's 3. So these head covers have obviously scraped. The ones on the old bike are better. So this gives me opportunity to change them, but also to do the valve clearances while the bike is on the stand. No gearbox in, I can turn pistons on the alternator bolt very easily. Now, there is a little bit of oil in them, what we expected. So that's both covers off now. I've actually ordered a proper spark plug socket from Motorworks with hundreds of pounds worth of other parts. I can't believe how seals and friction plates and bolts here and there and all sorts of things add up to such a price. And I've decided to get a proper spark plug spanner. Because this one I had to get from Halfords a few years ago because I couldn't find another 16mm spanner, I think it is, anywhere. But that will come with all the parts from Motorworks, with the oil and new plugs, everything all the way through. So with top dead centre on the compression stroke, remember one stroke is compression, this spark plug fires, and at the same time the other cylinder is exactly opposite. You want them on compression stroke. So you can have it right out. Where's my little chopstick? So okay, right out, there's movement. If there's movement, you're on the compression stroke. Let me go round again and show you. So, because I can do it without doing the back wheel with the engine on the bench. So the piston is going right in. It's now going to come out again, but this time this is not a compression stroke on this side, it's a compression stroke on the other side. So I've got to go round again. So down again, here it comes out. Very gently, still coming out. That's about it, and it should be movement. A little bit more. That is so tight, I can't get any movement. The exhaust here, because the exhaust is here, that's how you know that. And the inlet, because that's where the petrol injection goes, so you can't get mixed up with them. Closest to the exhaust. This is 0.3 and that's 0.15. So if I take a 0.3 here, that should go into the exhaust, which it doesn't quite, so it's much too tight. The 15 should go into here. It doesn't, too tight. But that is on our compression stroke, but the first thing we have to do is check the end play. Now this is a rocker arm, it's got loads of needle bearings in it, and it's made not to fit tight. I don't suppose you can see that movement, but you might be able to hear it. There's supposed to be movement in there, otherwise if it was too tight, as it got hot, it would probably lock. Now the movement is measured first, and it's the movement here. So I've got a feeler gauge in there. That's 0.279. 0.279, let's try that side. And that is the same, 0.279. I don't know whether you can see that. Rocker end play, the tolerance is between 0.05 and 0.4, so there's quite a tolerance. You definitely don't want it tighter than 0.5, and as you get closer to 0.4 it gets very noisy. And if they're not right, well, these are okay. But if they're not right, you're going to have to look at your manual how to change them. But you need to change them, get them right before you do your valve adjustment. So that is about 0.279. It just sticks that little bit. What I'm not happy with is the valve clearances. They are much too tight. The beauty about these engines, you can adjust them. The later engines have shims, as you know. My RT has shims. I'm sure it's much better engineering, but you can't do much about it apart from change the shims, and that's quite an involved job. Here we just use a 10mm bolt, 10mm spanner, slacken that off, and use I think it's a 3 Allen key to adjust it, which I'll show you next. So let's do the exhaust one first. If you've got one of these sets, this is, to be truthful, not such a good set. The Wunderlich ones come in different colours. I have to read these all the time. This is a 30 feeler gauge, two of them, and a 15 feeler gauge. They don't work with the latest bikes because they're different sizes, and you can do them at the same time. So this is a 30, and you can see it's just too tight. Not a lot out, but too tight. So what we'll do is undo the lock in that. And just come back. Until it just catches, and put the other one in. Come back until it slides. Hold it there while you tighten up. You can get these just so right, they're lovely to do. So you can see that stays, but it slides. That stays, but it slides. It's as easy as that. Just make sure they're locked up. These were definitely too tight. So the 30 slides but stays, slides but stays. Now let's go around to the other side, which is definitely too tight, surprisingly too tight. So exactly the same, but the 15mm, and I can't get them in there at all. Well, just a little bit. So undo the locking nuts, both sides. Put the 15 in. Well, I can't put it in, I've got to undo it first. Undo it. These are so useful, these little tools. Same down here. So you see it slides, but it stays. A little bit tighter. Too tight. Slides, but it stays. Slides, but stays. Slides, but stays. So there's all four. They all slide, but they're stiff enough to stay. Just want to make sure those nuts are locked. You don't want them coming loose. And that's exactly the tolerance. So now I can put back the rocker cover from the old bike. So there's the rocker cover from the old bike. check that the seal is on there, and this rocker cover is in much better condition because it hasn't gone down the road at all. I'm not going to at the moment clean these screws up. Let me just tack them up loosely. So cleaning all day today. What a day to spend August bank holiday. It still looks rusty, but all the loose rust is taken off, and I've used brake cleaner, WD-40 brake cleaner, to clean it up. Here's the ABS unit. Cleaned all that up today. It's a pity it doesn't work, but at least it can go back into the bike clean, and it has to go back in the bike. Remember previously I said what's the point, it doesn't do anything now, but this electrical part here, the garage who disassembled it all, I keep forgetting the name, is it George's garage in Bradford? If it's not, I'll type the correct one in. He was really good. Stephen from there said that plug has to be in, otherwise the red warning sign will come up on the dashboard of the GS and it will never pass its MOT or anything else. So it's intrinsic that this has to go back. Nothing is plugged into it at all except for the electrical socket. So at least it can go back in clean. A lump of probably incredible engineering that didn't work. Surprised how much cleaning something like this can take. This part here was absolutely black. I thought it was painted black, and that's taken me an hour. See if I can. I don't even know whether I've got it on the right way now, but it's taken me an hour on the polishing mop to be able to polish and polish and polish to get it, and it's actually chromed by the look of it, so that I'm pleased with that. I've got to take these seals out, replace them while I'm doing it, and there's another seal at this end in here, this seal. So I've never done that before. That'll be interesting. I've ordered everything from Motorworks today, so those seals should come. So 2 seals there and 1 at the front. There's a seal here in the selector, but that seems really good. And these seals are not cheap, 14 to 30 odd pounds, some of them each. So I'm changing them where I can. I finished the cylinder heads. I've polished them all up and torqued them to the right torque setting. So this is finished now. I don't, apart from putting oil in it. So I've been polishing this up a lot today. Alternator I did yesterday. It's looking quite good. Then I've ordered a new alternator belt. I don't really want to put one back even if it hasn't used too much. So it'll be brand new. And that little trick I have of tapping a 6mm thread into, I'm going to do it into all 3 holes. Mark left a comment on my YouTube saying, would it put it out of balance if I just do one? Why don't I do all 3? So I might as well, he's got a point. So I might as well tap all 3, and then I can put the 6mm bolt on to wind the new alternator belt on. So I'll show you how I did that again. So easy to do it with the engine out, isn't it? To be able to show it. So where I've not been able to get a stainless steel bolt, like this one here. Do you remember yesterday that was so rusty? So I've taken these out, I spun them in the lathe, and with emery paper clean them right up. They look like stainless steel now, that one and this one. Now this was quite a special bolt when I took it out. It's a very thin head. So I don't have one. I don't want to go and just buy, well, I wouldn't be able to buy it, I don't think. I'd have to get it from BMW. So I might as well clean it up. But of course it's bare metal now. So I use ACF 50. The final stage will be to coat everything with that. There's copper grease on it as well a little bit just to protect it. Now that applies to all these bolts down here. They're very long, specific lengths, so much shank before the thread starts. They were coated in rust, so I took those out, put them in a lathe, spun it round. You could do it with a drill, as long as you can spin it and hold a bit of emery cloth on a tape cloth, an inch wide, 240 grit. So you mustn't forget that these are bare metal. So a spot of rain and they'll go rusty. So the next thing to try and sort out is the header pipes. They're 15 years old now. They've done 53,000 miles. But of course they're very expensive. I think about £1,000. So it's obviously worth preserving them. What I'm going to do now is strap them to this pallet and send them off to a company I've found that do hot, I think it's hot ceramic coating. So I've never seen it. I don't know what it does, but the reports are very, very good. Let's see what it looks like when it comes back. So that's why you need to see it now. It's like all pipes, they discolour, don't they, with the heat. So let's see what it comes back like. Well, here I am cleaning the starter motor now. What a state this was in. This was solid black, almost like black paint, and polishing and polishing and polishing, and the body, this end was, well, I thought it had been powder coated in black, and now it's you can see your face in it, and the body. Now I know all of you be thinking, well, what's the point? And to be truthful, there isn't any, because you never see the starter motor. It's covered up. Clean. Even the spindle inside, I managed with a Dremel to clean up all the thick black film that's built up over 15 years. So it just gives me the satisfaction of knowing that it's a clean part going in, even though it will make no difference at all to the running of the bike.